6 DC Metro train lines, 98 stations, over 129 miles of track, and multiple buses. What I'm attempting is called the Metro Speedrun World Record. The idea is to visit every station in the shortest time possible, using whatever planning and resources you can.
That could be a big issue. That it could be a huge issue.
That's it? What?
Jesus. Okay, run,
Not
run. A good situation at all. Holy sh**.
Along the way, though, I wanted to learn about something much more consequential, a budget crisis that is haunting the agency in charge of Metro right now. There's been a lot of talk about big numbers and service cuts, which is going to have a huge impact on how people get around. So I wanted to know, how would that affect real people who rely on the system every day, both right now and in the future? What happens next will define the future of public transportation in the Washington, D.C. region and possibly the nation for decades to come. I'm Cody Finnegan, and you're listening to the Arlington Amp. Will we beat the world record? And what can this whirlwind tour of the network teach us about the Metro's fiscal crisis and the nature of public transportation? Get your Smart Trip cards out and stand clear of the closing doors. It's gonna be a wild ride. We begin our day outside the Virginia Square Metro station in central Arlington. It's a cold January morning, and it's so early, the sun isn't even up yet. I mean, I'm 16. If I was able to wake up this early, everything else today should be a cakewalk, right? I brought along 2 of my transit-obsessed friends with me on this adventure. Jason.
It's 5:53. It feels cold.
And Xiangwen.
I'm really hungry, so I brought my ramen with me.
Okay.
If you want to bite, you can have a bite.
All of us are students in Arlington. In fact, we all attend the same program, Arlington Tech. We all rely on public transportation, mostly buses, to get around, but we also share a love for the Metro rail system. We wanted to use this challenge not only as an opportunity to explore more of a system that means so much to us, but to learn more about what it means to others and what would be lost without it. But naturally, winning is priority number 1, so we spent months obsessing over the details of our plan and waiting for the perfect opportunity with a day off from school to make our attempt. This world record isn't about being really smart or good at a certain skill, but having crazy good logistics and planning. In this race, any delay or missed connection, even by a couple minutes, will cause a cascade of other missed connections to the point where your whole plan is suddenly out the window. So it's critical that everything goes right today. There are also some rules we had to abide by, like 1, you're only allowed to take public transportation, so no Ubering between stations. And 2, the train has to stop and the doors have to open at every station, but you don't actually have to get out at the station. Our final plan involves transferring lines 17 times, but the most important one is to something called the MARC. The Maryland Area Regional Commuter Train is run by the state of Maryland and runs trains between D.C. and Baltimore. In all our research, this is the strategy that felt like we unlocked a cheat code. Because this is a regional train rather than a metro, it doesn't have any stops between New Carrollton, the end of the orange line, and Union Station, which is on the red line, which can cut out almost half an hour between those 2 stations. This is our secret weapon. This is why we think we can beat the world record by almost 15 minutes. But first thing before we even travel out to our starting station, we have to purchase some unlimited Metro passes, which will save a lot of money crisscrossing the network all day.
It's making me a little nervous. It's like, seriously, if we get derailed at the very first stop, oh my god.
But what are the chances of that, right? I'm sure the ticket machine wouldn't just fail to work or anything like that.
No! Oh shoot.
After several failed attempts and a tense encounter with the station manager, we finally make the wise decision to abandon our attempts to buy the passes and just hope we could make this train using the money that was already on our cards.
We really need to go.
At the worst possible moment, literally as the train is pulling up, the fare gate won't let Xiangwen through.
Guys, Guys, the train is here.
But with seconds to spare,
Okay, well, that was a rocky start.
but we were on our way. A little taste of the struggle that would be the next 8-ish hours of our lives. We've now made it to Ashburn, way out at the end of the Silver Line, like 30 miles from downtown, past even Dulles Airport. And after a slightly more successful attempt to get unlimited cards, though Xiangwen didn't get hers because the fare gates trapped her inside the station again.
Okay, let's go. Come on. Okay, go.
No, that's not a sound effect. The microphone actually fell out of the audio recorder here. Spoiler alert, it's not the last time that'll happen.
Holy shit. That was... Holy shit. Okay. That is a lot more tension than I was expecting very early in the trip. Holy cow.
Now settled in on the train, I wanted to start talking to riders about their experiences using the metro.
Hello, my name is Khadija, pronouns she, her, hers. I am a public health master's student at GW, and I like to work in healthcare. I go for school, work, hanging out with friends, going places, late night things, so it depends. But I mean, I do have a car, but I prefer the metro because DC traffic sucks. And again, gas prices, and then there's tolls all over the road. So metro is cheaper as of right now because it's easier. I can worry about traffic at all. I can study on the train, just relax, take a nap. So it's much more convenient.
Nice train you got there. Sure would be a shame if someone defunded it. Wait, what? Yup. At the time of our speedrun in January, WMATA was staring down the barrel of a $750 million budget deficit and had to figure out how to save all that money. The answer? A 25% fare increase, a complete elimination of late-night train service, and, maybe worst of all, cutting train frequencies to only every 30 minutes on every line, even in rush hour. And while I won't talk about Metro Bus in this episode, just know that WMATA would be forced to cut nearly every bus route, and that would have just as severe an impact on just as many people. You may have seen headlines about how WMATA did find the funding they needed to keep things basically normal. But that doesn't mean we can suddenly stop worrying about Metro's funding problems. We'll get to that later. But for now, just remember that while these extreme measures aren't on the table in the immediate future, the question of how riders are impacted by service cuts will still remain important for a long time. I asked Khadija how the service cuts would change the calculus for her.
Either I'll be really early or very late. Like right now, it's rush hour. It's pretty empty right now, but it'll get busier as we get to other stops and people have to stand and they squish in. So every 30 minutes, people won't be able to catch a train. They have to wait to the next one and the next one, and it can push them back.
About 45 minutes into our speedrun, we make it to East Falls Church, which is the first station where the Silver and Orange lines meet. We get pretty lucky with a transfer going back the opposite direction, and less than 2 minutes after stepping off our first train, we're speeding back down the middle of Interstate 66.
Wow. A lot of wind, but that was pretty cool.
This section is pretty short, only 3 stops to the end of the Orange line, but I still managed to get in a quick conversation with someone named Ted.
Because I really like how, cheap it is. It's very, inexpensive, and it's, I feel good about myself and, that I'm helping the planet reduce carbon emissions, so it just makes me feel good.
I think a lot of us already sort of know this, but it's worth re-emphasizing the environmental benefits of public transportation. One Virginia think tank estimated that losing the metro would lead to 278,000 more vehicles on the road every day in Northern Virginia alone. That's more than the entire population of Buffalo, New York. But as great as those benefits are, Ted told me he has to balance that with practical considerations like commute times. So if the metro had to cut train frequency...
Yeah, that would definitely impact my commute. I would probably switch to, driving.
55 minutes in, we've made it to Vienna Fairfax GMU.
This station is frickin' awful.
Okay, Jason. Anyways, so far, things are going like we expected. We haven't run into any delays, which is pretty important because remember that super critical connection to the MARC commuter train that I mentioned earlier? Our transfer from Metro to MARC is already extremely tight even without any delays. We'll only have 2 minutes to get off our train, exit the metro station, and enter a completely different system. MARC doesn't run trains every few minutes like the metro. If we miss the train, it'll be over an hour before the next one. In other words, game over. This is what will make or break our world record. But then, we notice something happening with the schedules in the app we've been using to navigate.
Significant delays on Blue Line.
So, okay, why? Let me look. Okay, that is not great.
Residual delays to downtown Largo due to an earlier train malfunction at Franconia Springfield.
Take a screenshot of that.
Oh, yeah. In less than an hour, we'll be going that direction, so we need the delays to be fixed by then. Hopefully that is sorted out by the time we have to take the Blue Line, but it's not guaranteed by any means. I try not to think about how delays might impact us as I find my next person to talk to. Jim Day, who bikes and then metros to work at the U.S. State Department in Foggy Bottom.
As a federal government employee, my commute is at least part of my job. But to me, the daily commuting costs, even on the metro, is pretty expensive, to the point that sometimes, we wonder, it just might be more affordable to drive and pay parking, and to me, that's silly. It's just too expensive to take my family on it. It's cheaper, if the family's going anywhere, it's cheaper to drive.
Metro is an interesting case of economies of scale, right? So the whole idea of a train is to optimize for economies of scale. It's cheaper to just have this one giant car take everybody than one car that can only take 4 people at a time, right? It's cheaper, it's better for everybody.
But if something like, say, a pandemic causes fewer people to ride transit, the economics breaks down.
No, I don't know exactly what the consequences are, but I'm sure they'll be cutting back on services and raising the ticket prices.
That wouldn't just be a crude and temporary solution to the funding problem. It would make it even harder for people like Jim to justify taking transit, which would make the whole funding situation even worse. This idea has been dubbed the transit death spiral, and it's just as bad as it sounds. Just imagine a vicious cycle of service cuts reducing ridership, which then necessitates more service cuts. At some point, it stops making sense to maintain giant stations and trains for the few people left.
I think for years the problem with Metro is, in my view, they don't get enough support from local or state or federal government. So they're always, they're in permanent crisis, really. There's enormous public benefits to having public transportation be a viable option to everyone. And if you're raising the price to the cost where people can't afford it anymore, or cutting so much that it's not a viable commuting option, it just hurts everyone in the community, whether you're a public transportation commuter or not.
Believe it or not, this issue has been coming up for years already. During the pandemic, the federal government stepped in to bridge that funding gap caused by lower ridership, but that funding expires on July 1st. The only way to prevent the death spiral now is for WMATA's other funding contributors, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, to step in with enough funding to maintain the good service, clean stations, and low prices that Metro riders are accustomed to.
47. Right now it's 8:47. It's been about just over 2 hours and a half since we first got on the Metro system. Since we started our actual Metro run, it's been, I think, only about an hour and a half, but I haven't been keeping track of the math in my head. So we're just before Franconia Springfield, which is the last station at the southernmost end of the Blue Line. Once we get there, we're going to try to make as quick a transfer as possible to go in the other direction, but we're not sure how long it'll take because we're not sure how switching the train to the other direction works.
While Xiongwen and Jason worry about how to transfer, I go talk to another group of people. This time, it was a recent immigrant family, a mother and her 2 daughters. These people had a very different story than what we've heard so far. The person you're about to hear is Nasiba, one of the daughters.
We're going just 1 minute, I don't know. Menevilla Road, I think. Woodbridge. My mom has an appointment with doctor, and it's a little far, but we will take, I think, over there, just for to make, like, to go half of a way with the metro bus, and then we take over. It's a little far, yeah.
Woodbridge is miles from the nearest metro station. The bus Nasiba is talking about takes half an hour on a good day, but depending on where you want to go, it's often closer to an hour and a half.
I use metro bus every day to go work, to go everywhere. I don't know, like it would be like hard for me, for all my family, because still we don't have our own car. Yeah, since we have, it will be hard for us. Taking taxi would be expensive for us because it's a little far, and yeah, really, it's just the other option is like we have to have car, but we are not still have, and I don't know.
This is not an easy position to be in, even when the metro is running properly. But Nasiba and her family are not the only ones. Over a third of households in DC don't own a car. Without the metro or without the connecting bus, people like Nasiba likely just wouldn't be able to go to the doctor at all anymore. Unfortunately, as Jason and Xiangwen discovered while I was talking to Nasiba, this transfer is a pretty long one. Because we never got Xiangwen's pass at Ashburn, we thought we would take the opportunity to do that here.
Yeah, do you know that you have enough money on it?
I'll spare you the details of how it went, but after Xiangwen got stuck inside the station again,
Yay!
we finally got the pass.
Oh, is it here?
Our next
go.
step is to go back to where the blue and yellow lines meet in Old Town Alexandria, cover that little spur on the yellow line quickly, and then head north all the way through downtown DC and out to Maryland. Along the way, I get to talk to a personal trainer named Amar.
Well, I've been using Metro since I was a kid, and I've always been fascinated by trains and the transit system.
Who you can probably guess that I really vibed with.
Yeah, it's just been something we've been doing, me and my dad and my little sister been doing since I was a baby. Sometimes I just get on the train and ride, just because it's something that's nostalgic to me.
And a couple from Montreal who were riding the Metro for the first time ever.
And I've always had a very positive experience of Washington. I understand things have changed, but so far my experience even just getting into this Metro has been very positive. Very friendly people. It's clean, it's just what you want it to be.
With all the talk about economics and service cuts, I just want to take a moment to step back and appreciate how iconic and wonderful the Metro is. Amar reminded me a lot of myself, Xiangwen, and Jason, in that we both technically had reasons to be on the Metro, but we both knew we were really there just to enjoy ourselves. And for tourists, the Metro is often their first and last impression of the city. It's so influential that it's often called the nation's transit system. It's easy to forget that a lot of people just find the Metro really cool, and it would be a shame to lose that sense of pride and joy.
Thank you. Good luck. Bye. Good luck.
Enjoy your trip here.
As we're getting close to Potomac Yard, the newest station on the network, our next step is to get off our current yellow line train and onto a blue line train going in the same direction just 2 minutes behind us, which should put us on track to make our extremely risky connection to the MARC commuter train. As we step off the train, we look at the board to see when the next train will be, and
9 minutes.
9 minutes? Oh my gosh. Okay, that's not what I thought. Shoot. So is it because there's delays going in the Largo direction? That could be a big issue. that it could be a huge issue.
How practical is it to make Mark?
Well, if this is 7 minutes late, it's impossible. Let me see. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about the transfer times. Let me see. Okay. We should get there at 10:25, and this says 10:38.
Jeez. Oh man.
Okay then.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm probably on the verge of a nervous breakdown at this point. We have 5 minutes left to figure out what we're going to do and where we're going to go. Needless to say, we do not figure it out in 5 minutes. We step on the next train and start trying to redo our months of careful planning on the go. From now on, we're flying blind.
We could.
It would take a lot more time.
But we could strategize around
10:57, we would get into Stadium Armory. Try to buy Amtrak tickets today.
No.
We get off the train at Metro Center with a completely different plan than when we'd started just about 3 hours ago. Instead of finishing the blue, silver, and orange lines first, we'll travel the entire red line via a connecting bus, then finish the blue, silver, and orange, and finally take a bus to the northern end of the green line and finish the rest all in one go. The whole ride to Glenmont is filled with anxiety and even more planning.
Right? I'm not panicking. I'm totally not panicking.
Will we even be able to make our other connections in time anymore? Did we make another stupid mistake in planning? The answer to that turned out to be yes, by the way. Is it still possible to break the world record? At this point, we don't know. When we finally arrive, we expect a pretty easy transfer to the bus that will take us to the other end of the red
We need
line.
to look for Bay F.
Bay F. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Little did we know just how far that would be from the truth. After Seongwon's 4th time getting stuck in a fare gate,
So, we exit the station, and then we're like, I wonder where the 10 bus is. And so we start looking around at the signs, and then we see all the way, what's that, 30 feet away from us at least?
That's it? What?
Right about to exit is a bus. That has
Okay,
the
run,
number
run,
10
run.
on it. And we're like, oh,
Shoot.
shit. And so, because we're not there, we don't know where it's meant to go, so we just start running at it desperately.
Yeah, try to stop it. There's a red light.
And then lo and behold, it's a red light and we make the bus. And then, fun story, the bus driver turns and looks at us and just kind of shakes his head and refuses to open the doors.
Yeah, he just looks at us and goes, no.
Anyway, so the bus takes off and Cody's like, you know what, no, let's keep running.
Where's the
I'm
nearest
like,
stop?
My legs hurt.
Where's the nearest stop?
But we keep going.
That way?
Yeah.
Okay, across the road. He's not gonna wait for us.
He won't.
God damn it. So we should have ran a little bit more, I guess. No. Why? Okay, there's another red light. This is not sustainable. Are you serious? So that was a pretty long run, and then we got to the intersection, and it was still red, but there was no walking man. I decided we should just go for it. We decided to run across the intersection with no walking sign, and while we were halfway across the intersection, the light turned green, and the bus was still there.
The bus had stopped at a bus stop there, and so when we ran up, the bus driver opened the doors. And so we got on there, and I was like, thanks, even though I really didn't feel like saying thanks.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure he was going to do that, so I was prepared to run another block to the next bus station. Okay. We f***ing made it.
I looked it up afterward, and we chased this bus down 1/4 mile. I apologize eternally to my friends for making them do this. We had to turn off the audio recording at this point in fear that the driver would personally chuck us off his bus.
Okay, so we're at Twinbrook. Would you like to explain what just happened?
No, we can do it once we get on the train. I'm too tired and I'm walking.
Finally back on rails, we take a minute to breathe after that hellish experience and prepare for our next big hurdle.
Oh god, everything is delayed now. Oh no, everything is delayed. The blue line is delayed, the red line is delayed, the yellow line is delayed, the green line is
Our
delayed.
current red line train is delayed by a few minutes and losing more time with every stop. If things don't change, we're about to have another situation like the Mark fiasco. But there's still one weapon left in our arsenal, the Farragut Crossing. Have you ever wondered why the Farragut West and Farragut North stations look like they cross over each other on a map, but there's no connection between them? No? Just me? Okay, well, long story short, WMATA actually did consider building a tunnel between them at one point, but instead what they did was create a virtual tunnel. Basically, you can exit at one of the Farragut stations, walk across Farragut Square in downtown DC, and enter the other station with a free transfer. As soon as you step off the first train, you're essentially trying to race your connecting train to the other stop. As if we need that right now, I know. But it's the only thing we have left to do. If we transfer at Metro Center, we are guaranteed to miss our train. If we get lucky and play our cards right, we could shave off a few minutes and get back on track after our delay. That could even put us back in contention for the world record.
I know, it was a 90-degree angle.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
It took so long. So, okay, after waiting in the elevator, or for the elevator for like 3 or 4 minutes, we're now racing across Okay, as I was saying, we're now racing across Farragut Square. Trying to get to the metro. I don't know how much time we have left, but it's not a lot. Okay, inside. Run. Okay, no, we missed it already, I think. Is this it? It's Largo, oh my god.
I actually put it in my pocket.
How much do you think we made that by? It was pulling in right as we reached the fair gates. I think it's time for an update. We are heading towards Capitol South. It is 12:18 p.m. We have been at this for 5 hours and 19 minutes. And things are not what we expected. So we completely missed the Mark connection. It would have saved us a lot of time. Catch a bus, which was easier said than done. And then we end up on the red line, and now suddenly the red line has crazy delays, even though it didn't half an hour ago.
And now we're on the Silver Line, traveling east to Maryland. As soon as we made it to Farragut North, we ticked off our last red line station. 1 line down, 5 to go. With things looking up, I finally got another chance to think about the budget crisis. I talked to a couple people who would be affected in really different ways, including Jaron, an evening shift worker who would be impacted by the lack of late night service.
Well, I would probably definitely have to work like way earlier shifts at work, because where I work at, we close as late as 10. Well, we close at 9, but I'm out of work at 10, so by that time it's already done and over. But even if I were to catch it like 30 minutes in between trains, it's like that can really output a lot of things. Like one minor hiccup, like on a 5-minute train, will set you back like 10-20 minutes from where you want to go. So I can only imagine where 30 minutes means. With all the delays that we still even have now, having like 30-minute in between, next you know, it's delayed like another 10 minutes or some garbage, so who knows where. But other than that, I would probably just have to literally like make an itinerary for whenever I'm about to go somewhere, just to like accommodate myself.
We've made it to the end of the silver and blue lines, instantly ticking 2 more lines off our list. That leaves 3 left. Now we're back at Stadium Armory, where the silver and blue lines meet the orange line, getting ready to go out to New Carrollton, Maryland, and tick off 1 more line.
So
Totally got this. We're doing so great.
Immediately, I found someone named Kimura who was willing to talk with me. Kimura is 14, and she was traveling with a friend. Like Amar, she reminded me a lot of Jason, Shangwen, and I.
Coming with my friend is just go see her boyfriend or my boyfriend. So, you know, we don't really be on here that long. We come from the the Largo station, and we get off here at like Stadium Armory, or sometimes LaFawn. That's it.
I think it's pretty safe to say people like Kimura aren't typically the first priority in debates over things like the Metro's budget. But my question was what people would lose on a personal level. And the answer for Kimura is that she'll lose a weekend activity, a source of joy and a lot of independence.
I don't think we would be going on the train anymore if that happened, because first of all, I don't have money to pay for it every time, and yeah, no, I probably just wouldn't be going anymore.
For some other students, having public transportation isn't just fun, but an absolute necessity.
You know, I feel like it's not really a choice. You know, my parents have work in the morning, so it's like, gotta take the metro. I have to, you know, get there some way, somehow.
And 6 hours and 29 minutes in, we finished the orange line. That leaves us 1 hour and 34 minutes to finish the green line, and in the process, the yellow line as well. A green line trip theoretically takes around 50 minutes. So now the question is, can the bus get us there in time? If this goes smoothly, we could still be in serious contention for the record despite everything that happened earlier today. 2 minutes pass, then 5, still no sign of the bus. Finally, the bus arrives and we hop on. Unfortunately for us, it pretty quickly becomes clear why the bus was so late. There's a massive car crash directly in its path. We sit here for several minutes as emergency vehicles swarm the area and police manually direct traffic. Things are not looking good for our world record. It would be so disappointing to come so far just to be foiled by something we have no control over. We're probably almost 15 minutes delayed by the time we finally get through that intersection. But then, knowing how delayed the bus was, our bus driver became determined to get back on schedule. He sped this 10-ton vehicle around tight curves on residential streets as Xiangwen and I clung to the seats in front of us for dear life. I have no idea how many traffic laws this guy probably broke to get us back on track, but all I can say is that by the time we made it to the station, we were somehow only a couple minutes delayed, and we were able to catch our intended train at 2:17, a rare victory for us today.
I got the recording working again. Briefly. Okay, it's working.
And now, finally, our final time is truly out of our hands. There is nothing we can do other than just stay on our current train. Throughout the day, I started to notice that as different as everyone's lives were, they all had some unique personal stake in this crisis. From Jim taking his children on the metro to Jaren deciding what shifts he can work, the metro is so deeply embedded in people's way of life in the DC region that it truly affects everyone. Compared to most places in the US, the DC region is considered pretty transit-friendly. Now, we have a choice between doubling down on improving transit or reverting back to car dependency. The decision we make today will have a massive impact on people's habits, where they choose to live, and even the region's climate goals for the foreseeable future. None of this is simple, but these are the questions we need to face sooner or later, and WMATA's fiscal crisis has forced our hand. Over the course of the day, most people I talked to urged policymakers to consider the utility that the metro provides, but I also heard people say they trust WMATA and local governments to do their best with the limited options they have available. These decision makers have pulled together to put a stop to the crisis in the short term, with DC pledging to contribute their portion of emergency funding in February, and Maryland and Virginia eventually contributing their portions too. In April, WMATA's board approved a budget for the upcoming fiscal year, which maintains current service but sees fare increases of about 12.5% on average, which Metro says is in line with inflation. But while this year was more visible due to low ridership since the pandemic, this crisis is not unique. WMATA's unusual lack of dedicated funding sources, like a sales tax, means that its funding situation is basically at the mercy of DC, Maryland, and Virginia each year. Politics and other issues often get in the way of maintaining a good transit service. Even this most recent round of funding isn't secure through the 2026 fiscal year, meaning WMATA will have to go through another difficult political process next spring. WMATA, being in the nation's capital, has always served as a very visible case study for other transit systems around the country, many of whom are dealing with the same funding issues right now. So what happens to the Metro has implications not just for the DC region, but for the nation as a whole. The question is, will we decide to commit to fully funding public transportation, or are we okay with the uncertainty that comes about each year?
Okay, let's move to the doors so we can get the second the doors open.
Right now, we're pulling up to the Branch Avenue station, the only one we haven't yet visited today. Due to police activity which closed Waterfront Station, our train is actually running a couple minutes ahead of schedule, which makes it really hard for us to predict whether we'll get to the station at the scheduled time, which is just 1 or 2 minutes behind what we need, or in time to beat the world record.
So the estimate from Suitland to, which we are now leaving, to Branch Avenue is 3 minutes, and it is 3:01, and the time to beat is 4 minutes past 8 hours.
8 hours, 4 minutes, and 12 seconds. We might beat it.
Since we started at exactly 7 a.m., we need to get to the station at or before 3:04 p.m. to win. Once again, we've somehow managed to get things right down to the second.
I mean, I think even if we don't manage to beat the record, managing to tie it or get close to it on our first run is pretty good.
Oh no, it's slowing down.
Come on.
Oh no.
Oh, we're going again.
We're moving slowly. I don't know what the issue is, but we are stopped. Okay. 9, 10, 11, 12. Our exact time is 3 minutes, 5 seconds. I mean, 3 hours, 5 minutes.
8 hours.
8 hours, 5 minutes, and 35 seconds. That was a struggle. 8 hours, 5 minutes, and 35 seconds. How do you guys feel?
I feel pretty good about that.
I think the fact that it was so close makes it the most unfortunate part.
Yeah.
Well, there is one more issue with that. You see, while we thought we got second place at the time, it turns out someone already beat the record, Zach Lincoln, with a time of just over 7:40. I also want to shout out Alex, another Arlington high schooler who finished his run in April with a time of 7 hours and 43 minutes. So, when this episode releases, we're actually sitting in 4th place. Still a good result. But remember that issue I mentioned at Waterfront Station? Well, one of the rules of the speedrun is that the doors have to open at every station, and our train never stopped at Waterfront, so technically our record is invalid. I'll let the transit speedrunning community decide what to do about this one. After 3 separate payment fiascos, Shangwon getting stuck behind a faregate at least 4 times, missing the commuter train connection, getting stuck in the middle of an intersection during a green light, a broken elevator, car crash, police activity, delays galore, and a microphone that kept falling out of the audio recorder, I'm actually really satisfied that we were still able to get this result. I want to finish off with one final thought. To many people, including myself, the Metro is not just another mode of transportation. It's an iconic cultural centerpiece. Today, I met over a dozen riders from all sorts of different backgrounds. Rich or poor, commuter or student, hundreds of thousands of people intermingle on the Metro every single day. Some people, like Amar or me and my friends, get on the train just to have fun. The Metro is something that binds the region together, that we can all be proud of. For all the talk about commuting and traffic and global warming, I think that alone has value too. In summary, let's keep up the good work so I can try this again sometime. Thank you for listening to the Arlington AMP, a production by Arlington students. I'm Cody Finnegan. Congratulations to our graduating seniors, Javi, Maddie, Nadia, Sid, Soliana, and Bale. And a big thank you to everyone else on our production team, Coral, Gabe, Joelle, Razi, and our glorious leader, Kristen. I wrote an accompanying blog post about this topic over on Greater Washington. Check it out in the show notes of this episode. I'll also include links to all my sources and a full timetable of the route we took throughout the whole day. This is the first episode we've released in a while, but there's a whole lot more in the pipeline, so be sure to subscribe to the show for more high-quality local journalism produced by teens.